So today we're going to talk about the Iron 883 for the Battle of the Sportsters, and the subject that we're going to talk about is comfort. So within the category of comfort, we'll be talking about the stock seat, the rear shocks, the wind resistance, or at least the aerodynamic of the motorcycle when you're on the highway. And lastly, we're going to be talking about the riding ergonomics. So let's get to it. So the Iron 883, the stock seat, the tuck and roll seat. How do I put it? So let's say you go into a conference room and you find one of those conference room chairs that looks really nice, but you know it's cheaply made. And then as soon as you sit down, it feels somewhat comfortable, but after a few minutes, you kind of have to start wiggling your bum just to get the circulation going. That's kind of how the Iron 883 seat feels like. It looks plush, it looks thick, and then when you first sit on it, it feels pretty good. I must say it feels kind of comfortable. But then once you go on a ride that's longer than 30 minutes or so, then you really start to kind of feel the lack of cushion, or the lack of, I don't know what you can call it, but it's not the most comfortable seat, which is why you will see a lot of Sportster owners going out to go buy aftermarket seats as part of the Harley tax that people call it. But for me, I'm a cheap moto vlogger and I like to save money. So I have sacrificed a little bit of comfort for either style or to save money. And in this case, it's a little bit of both. But yeah, they're like the Iron 883 seats. It's not the most comfortable seat in the world. It's not even like average seat in the world. It's just one of those cheap conference chairs that you can't really sit on for a long time. So that's that. So now let's move on to the rear shocks. It only has 1 inch of travel. So whatever you do, whatever you adjust on the preload, you're still gonna bottom out at some point. Now, I admit, when I first bought my Iron 883, because I already did my research, I kind of already had the anticipation knowing that the shocks will probably be pretty crap. So I actually been riding 1 year without adjusting the preload because I thought it was already factory defaulted to my weight. And I'm about 190 pounds, and with gear on and boots and helmets, probably close to like 215, 220. And if you want to know how to adjust and my full review of after adjusting the preload, check out my previous video, which I'll link below. But in a nutshell, adjusting the preload did improve my riding about 30%, I would say. But I'll still say that you're probably gonna bottom out in one of those deeper cracks, or going over the railroad, or any obstacles that's on the road. You're definitely gonna find that bottom sooner or later, more likely sooner, because that 1 inch travel doesn't give you anything. And there are a lot of aftermarket parts out there that you can buy, but this Battle of the Sportster is just talking about all stock, so I'm not gonna get too much into that. Now let's talk about the wind resistance on the Iron 883. So you probably already know, when you look at the Sportster, there is no fairings, there's no windshield, there's nothing. And a lot of motorcycle reviewers for the Iron 883 kind of already tell you that, and that they feel a lot of wind while you're riding. And I felt the same way. As soon as I got on the motorcycle and went on the highway, I could definitely feel a lot of wind on my hands, my arms, my chest, and some of my legs, and definitely in my head. But it wasn't enough to like take away from the experience. In fact, I was kind of looking forward to it, because I didn't buy a motorcycle just to feel like I'm on a two-wheeled car. So having that wind hitting me like definitely gives me that sensation and experience that I'm on a motorcycle and something different. So I thoroughly enjoyed that at first, but once the weather got colder and wetter, kind of wish I had that windshield. Now it does take away from the look of the bike, and I love the bobber look because it's nice and clean. But from a comfort standpoint, having no windshield or having no shield at all does kind of give you a little bit more of that fatigue on the road, especially if I'm going for longer rides on the highway, let's say above 60 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per hour. You're definitely gonna feel that wind a lot more. But like for me, I do short rides, at least for now, and I thoroughly enjoy it. But as for comfort, it's definitely uncomfortable. So lastly, let's talk about the ergonomics. This is something that I really love about the Iron 883. If this is your first time tuning into my channel, thanks for coming in. But if you watch some of my older review videos, you would know that I always talk good about the Iron 883's riding ergonomics, or the rider's triangle, because it gives me that perfect right triangle. Something about the placement of the mid control and the handlebar with the slight pullback, and then just the placement of the stock seat. For me, who's 5'10" and about 30 inches of inseam, my body seems to be perfectly in tune with the Iron 883 without any training. Like, you get onto that motorcycle and you feel like you're comfortable on it. And as a beginner rider, having that confidence, it was a very good positive factor. And I think for that reason, a lot of riders and motorcyclists out there do recommend the Iron 883 as a starter bike. But with that said, I have tried on a forward control, and I think I'm at the higher spectrum of being potentially a little too tall, and I do prefer forward controls over mid control on certain bikes. But having the mid control for the Iron 883 didn't really take away from the experience. In fact, as a new rider, when I started out last year, it definitely gave me that big confidence boost that I can flat foot the bike and be able to control the motorcycle during the unexpected conditions that you would experience as a rider. So overall, I would say in terms of the comfort, I'll give the Iron 883 6 out of 10. Some people that might sound harsh, and to others that might sound too much. But for me, as a person who's been riding this Iron for close to 15 months now, I can confidently say that I think 6 out of 10 is a reasonable number in terms of comfort, because there's still that room that you can use for mods to modify your bike. And I think Harley Davidson purposely cheaped out on certain areas just because they knew you were gonna upgrade it anyways. And I'm talking about like the seat and the shocks, which kind of sucks for a new buyer who only budgeted for one bike without mods. But other than that, I think this will cover the round one for the Iron 883. For the next round, I'm going to talk about performance of the Iron 883. That includes overall power delivery from the motorcycle, of course, but I also want to tackle this in more of a safety sense. I want to talk about braking power and as well as its performance on the highway.